All right, time for instant reaction. Sean Payton headed to the Denver Broncos. So this has been a long back and forth between Sean Payton and Denver. So I talked to Sean after he was on my show yesterday. So usually I talk to Sean for about 5 or 6 minutes when he's off FS1 with me, and we've been talking about this. Private conversations about where he's going, where he's not. And so I went to dinner with Sean, spent about 4.5 hours with him a couple weeks ago. He very much liked the Broncos ownership. His concerns were lack of cap flexibility and Russell Wilson's process, a little disconnected from younger players. He was concerned about it. I shared that with you. When you get into a situation like this, these new owners were going to reset the coaching salary market. So Sean Payton liked Fox. Sean Payton would have stayed at Fox. And Sean and I talked a lot about this. In fact, we talked about this after the show Monday. The things he worried about were always the same. Cap flexibility, and let's get Russell Wilson to get back to playing Russell Wilson style, which is almost basketball style quarterback. Move the pocket, move a lot, instinctive. He's one of the better guys that we've ever seen do that, right? So I'm not going to go into the Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport space. They're going back and forth on whose job this was and whose job it wasn't. I was told very early that Denver really liked Sean, and it was Sean's job to lose. Now, money is a big component to any great job. The more risk, the more money any coach would want. I do not think, and I said this before, I think you need an offensive coach in Denver. I don't think DeMeco Ryans as talented as he is. You got to figure out the Russell Wilson piece. I thought Harbaugh was a good fit, and I thought Sean Payton was a good fit. I thought you needed, after Hackett, a proven commodity at head coach and an offensive commodity at head coach. So Harbaugh and Payton were really good choices. So, when I had talked to Sean over the course of the last several weeks, he was always interested, always thought it was great, but there are gambles here. It's not simple. Everybody on the internet wants to make everything simple. Let me tell you something. When you start talking about the salary involved here and the components in place, it's complicated. Big-time agents, billionaire owners, Sean Payton's high profile, had a lot of leverage. I love Jim Harbaugh, but he's a lot and wants a lot of control. And Sean doesn't necessarily need that personnel control. Would like an opinion, doesn't need as much control. So what I was told is the Bronco owners like that very much. But jobs like this are complicated. Initially, I thought it was Sean's. And I do think Denver's job, when you consider all the other openings, is the best because of good roster in key spots. And Russell Wilson's talented. Carolina, I think that's an interesting job. But it's hard to find quarterbacks. College football only gives you about 1 to 2 a year. So Carolina's job has a chance to be great. But what if they don't land Derek Carr or Garoppolo and they miss on their next 2 quarterback draft picks? I mean, Arizona missed on one, went on another, thought they got a hit with Kyler Murray. Now they may have a miss. He won't be available this year for much of it, and he's struggling to get along with people. So this was always really complicated. But when I talked to Sean after Monday's show, in fact, he had just changed his avatar to Fox Sports. It wasn't that. It was a coaching avatar. He just changed it to a broadcasting avatar, and now he's taking the Broncos job. This went back and forth. In fact, one of the tells with this is the Jim Harbaugh resurfacing rumors. Well, what does that tell you? It tells you that they wanted Sean Payton. They weren't agreeing on the number. And so suddenly stories get out when somebody wants them out. Harbaugh's name surfaces. It's a negotiating ploy. In the end, there were two coaches where this can work, Harbaugh and Sean Payton. There's a lot of things I like about it. There are other reasons where it's not an easy job. If this was an easy job, Sean Payton would have taken this thing 3 weeks ago. It's not. The Russell piece is going to take work. The offensive line needs fixing. Lack of cap flexibility. You got to hit on several draft picks, and they just gave up several to the Saints to get Sean Payton. So it's complicated. But this stuff goes back and forth all the time. I had been in contact with people upstairs at my company with Sean Payton. It was a very respectful conversation. I thought Sean did a great job to keep me in the loop on it. And I congratulate, I think it was Schefter that broke the story. Good for him. That's what he does and does well. I guess apparently I haven't followed it, but Ian Rappaport and Schefter have a disagreement on social media about who was the lead candidate, who wasn't the lead candidate. I don't think this job is a good job for a first-time head coach on the defensive side of the ball. I don't. I think it's going to be a lot of work to get this right. Also, something Sean and I talked about at dinner. Sean's a smart guy. He thought about everything. And he said, listen, Mahomes twice a year and Herbert twice a year. What if Brady goes to the Raiders twice a year? There's a lot of things at play here. It was never easy. It went back and forth. Teams leak this and coaches, agents leak this. And that's the game. We've been talking about this, there were a bunch of job openings, and about 4 or 5 days ago, we were all saying, why aren't they getting filled? Because I believe everybody was waiting for Sean Payton. Then Sean gave Carolina kind of the word, I'm not taking that job. He interviewed with Arizona. He interviewed with Houston. And he told me about all these, or at least the Houston one. We went into some detail on that. It's private. I'm not getting into it. It was unique. But this is not simple. The division's tough. Mahomes is amazing. Herbert now has a really good offensive coordinator, I think, in Kellen Moore. I don't think winning is going to be easy, but I think in the end, the Broncos had to hit a number for Sean to take the job. And Sean loved working at Fox. Loved it. He just changed the avatar to Fox. When I talked to him after the show, I thought he was going to stay at Fox. Then all of a sudden, you get Harbaugh stuff out there. It's fascinating, though, isn't it? Sean Payton's just too good not to be coaching. I don't think I've ever learned more from a guest than what I've learned from Sean Payton. In all the years I've been doing this, 25, 30 years, I don't think I've ever learned more. There are so many parts to coaching. Some of it's not even personnel and play calling and scheming. There's a lot of personalities you have to deal with. And he had such a good fit with Gail Benson and Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland with the Saints that it's going to be virtually impossible to recreate that in Denver. But what Sean wants to make sure of is, okay, this is not going to be easy. And this is very important. This is not going to be easy. You have to commit to me. You have to commit long-term, resources, what you pay me, why. It's much easier to move off a coach. Cliff Kingsbury, the salary's smaller. You got this quarterback. He's young in his prime. Russell's not in his prime. Didn't look like he's in his prime. You can't move him for about 3 years minimum. So it's going to take a lot of work. It's not easy. There are things, though, about this job that are, that sound great. A young running back who can be a star, left tackle, nice receivers, capable tight ends. really, really high-end corners. This is not a rebuild. You got to fix the offensive line, and you got to make Russell Wilson work, but it's not a rebuild. There was also, I'll be interested to hear about the staff, the defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator. Sean and I have discussed that at length. I'm going to let that come out over the next probably 72 hours. There's a couple of names out there that have been connected to jobs but are not official. This could end up being a really, really strong staff. I'll leave it at that. But I'm happy for him. Smart guy. The league has pivoted to offense. This was a job for an offensive head coach. Absolutely. Harbaugh and Payton. It will be a lift. This will not be a light bench press. It's going to be a lift. Some really good pieces, but Russell is a unique personality. A lot of people took shots at him when he left Seattle. You don't see a lot of that with star quarterbacks. And then he played a little better at the end of the year when Hackett was gone. That's encouraging. Jerry Jeudy, I think it was, stuck up for him in the Denver locker room. That was encouraging. So I can't wait to watch it. I'm not sure what it's going to look like. And that's, to me, the best stories. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like. I think suddenly, unless Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, Denver will be the most interesting team in the NFL this year. Now, if Aaron goes to the Jets, that's going to be fascinating. But Russell Wilson and Sean Payton, because, Sean Payton has definitive views on how to run a football operation. And Russell Wilson going to have to make some changes. How easily does he make those changes? I'm not sure. Things I like about the job, things I don't love about the job. Anyway, instant reaction. Sean Payton, Denver Broncos.